That's Cameron Stewart of Locked On Baylor. We finally have the Las Vegas, far too early, predictions for who will win the national championship. And these are Utah. Utah, number one in the Big 12 conference, baby. I do want to, before we dive completely into the conversation, as stupid as that sounds, it's even more stupid that I think the highest rated Big 12 team is like 26th in the country. They have a whole lot of schools way above, like Clemson is up there above any Big 12 school. Same goes for USC, for South Carolina or Miami of Florida, even Oklahoma ranked above Big 12 schools. But number one in this conference, Utah, tied with Kansas State. Like, one of those I get. Sure, man. But my God, the Utah Utes after this last season to be number one, Arizona State at 3, Baylor, Iowa State, and Kansas.
Yeah, that one's weird too.
Are tied at 4, BYU at 7th, tied with Colorado, TCU, Texas Tech, UCF, and West Virginia. My God, BYU is tied with UCF and West Virginia. I don't know what to do anymore.
I had to double check it when I saw it come across my timeline today. This has to be 2024. Like I was like, this has to be 2024. It's not. It's 2025. I just look. I'm not going to sit here and claim I've followed through the Utah transfer portal. Heard they've had a good little window here, but certainly not near the top. You know, we've heard all about Tech. Tech's in the top 10 in the country, top 5 in their transfer portal. Haul. And so I see a team in Utah that did not have the year that Tech had this past year, not even close, and didn't bring in the guys that Tech supposedly brought in this year. And still, they're up at the top. Yeah. They're up at the top. I can't tell you how many Utah fans I had in my comments talking about how bad Isaac Wilson is. Now they're glad he was in the portal. And then he re-entered or came back to Utah, and they're like, here it comes, baby. National championship. They're not the best team in their own state in this conference. And they've got them. I just why? What has propelled them to be the number one team in this conference? Do they know it's no Cam Rising?
I don't hate Utah.
Does Vegas know?
I don't hate Utah. I don't hate their fans. I feel like they get a worse rap than 90% of them probably deserve. The 10% that are vocal and bad are like, okay, but also it's good for the conference. Like, rivalries are fun. You draw more attention. And then they get to be, I think if you're a BYU fan, if you really dislike Utah or you're a BYU fan, one and the same there, this is the best news ever for you. Because now they get to be insufferable again for an entire offseason and win yet another preseason Big 12 championship. Like, they've already got one of those trophies in the case. Now they get a second. What's wild to me, though, is this is Las Vegas. We talk a lot, and I'm pretty as apolitical as it gets. But when you were weighing the odds going to election night, you could bet on those. And it's the best representation of where the election actually sits, because the sports books want to make money. They want you to lose. So wherever you see the odds pushing toward, that is the most likely outcome. That's how gambling works. I don't understand how the sports book I don't know, man, just throw Utah in there. It feels like maybe they're just counting on a Big 12 school not winning a national championship. And sure, we haven't in a while, but also we took America's number one team for most of the year, Texas, to double overtime and got screwed on a call that won them that game. And now won them the Peach Bowl. And now I look at these and I think, really? This level of disrespect that we have BYU tied with West Virginia? I think West Virginia could be good, but anyone would know those two teams shouldn't be with each other in the preseason.
And the other one, the Kansas on the same level as Iowa State and Baylor, that is so perplexing to me.
Yeah.
We saw, second half of the year, Kansas was obviously terrific. That run they went on, then they lost by 4 touchdowns to Baylor. Let that be known. But Iowa State's a team that went to the conference championship game last year.
Yeah.
Baylor is one that was the hottest team in the conference the last month and a half, 2 months of the season. And they both bring a lot more back, household names that as the Big 12 fan than Kansas does. So that where is this coming from? And that's what's so surprising is Vegas knows. Vegas knows. And I'm wondering if it's almost in a weird backwards way, like a respect for the Big 12 in that they have a reputation over the last couple of years to just throw a curveball at you, like Arizona State winning the conference, Oklahoma State being in that game last year, 21 Baylor winning the conference championship. Is it just like, are they taking that much into account of like, hey, so someone's got to be the crazy one this year. Why don't you put your money on Utah to be that team? That's the only thing I can think of, man.
Which, if that was the case, and by the way, if Jalen Daniels is back for Kansas, he's good. So we'll talk household.
Yeah, he is coming back.
By the way,
Evan Neal's not. Yeah,
I would compare, and this is going to anger some people. I would compare Oklahoma State and Utah. I would liken them to one another. I compare them as two fairly similar programs. Longtime head coach, best head coach in program history. Have been there, weren't there last year, did not meet expectations. Both of those are in the same boat. Oklahoma State is slated third to last, right next to Houston. So why do we give Utah the number one spot? And again, I'm not mad at Utah fans.
They get 12 spots higher for winning that game in September.
I don't hate you. I just don't think it's crazy to me that BYU plus $1,000. They win the national championship, you get $50,000. Utah has their odds are half as good. Like you putting $1,000 on Utah would only get $25,000. It is. I think you put it much better than I was able to articulate earlier. I was talking about like lines and odds, and Vegas wants to win money. They know. Vegas always knows something. Yeah. And so when you see a line that's probably very representative of where, somebody who knows something is pushing that line in the direction that it goes. We talk about this in the NFL a lot with the Chiefs. Someone knows something and someone's going to make, Vegas will never lose money. They can't. This is absurd to me. Baylor that's one of the few things that make sense about this. Baylor being fourth in the Big 12. You know what? Cool. That's
solid. I think they have a real chance to win this thing. But if you're in the top four, you have the chance, right? But the Vegas always knows, except for the 2024 Big 12 predictions as well. I think that should be noted. They got that wrong too. But and look, not for nothing. Preseason rankings, take them with a grain of salt and everything. But Utah is not showing up on these. They're not showing up in preseason top 25s. BYU is.
BYU's number 9.
Is. Yeah, I'm
on
saying
ESPN's
BYU's
number 9.
Right. They are firmly in this. Arizona State is that next team. And then Baylor and Iowa State are rounding them out too. And that should be your top 4. And they got 3 of those. I don't know where the Utah thing is coming from.
Maybe they got really Utah and BYU confused. Maybe they're like,
could have been
one of those teams from the Bumblebee State. I do think it's like the Bumblebee State, or what?
I believe that's true. Salt Lake Bees.
A wild moniker. Coming up, number 1 draft pick in the conference, in the country, I should say, is from this conference. Does that bode well for Baylor or Texas Tech or anybody else? This is Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by, it's that time of year again, TurboTax. TurboTax is your place to make taxes easy. This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were ever going to get any money back, and then waiting and wondering, worrying even more. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return while you get real-time updates on their progress. You can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. All so you can get the most money back, guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now, this is taxes. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live full service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com /guarantees. Visit TurboTax